So until then, we're going to stick a pin because we have Miss Andrea Bernard, who is here with us right here on the digital world. And we're going to be diving into teaching opportunities abroad. Now, like I said, many of you have been asking for information on teaching opportunities abroad. I get the messages, I get the emails, and I keep on telling everybody, well, I myself, I'm not teaching abroad. I actually, have an online business. So I tell you about those things. But nonetheless, getting teaching opportunities abroad, we do have trainees all over the world who are doing that. So we wanted to bring in somebody who can give us some more insights on that. So our special guest for today is Miss Andrea Bernard, who is a multi-language learning specialist who has lived and worked in Trinidad, Spain, and now Cambodia. She has traveled to over 25 countries and built an international career in education and language learning. Andrea went from serving in law enforcement in Trinidad to teaching abroad and creating a new life for herself across continents. Today, we're going to be diving into teaching opportunities abroad, how to get started, where to find jobs, building a global career, and looking at the realities of thriving overseas, and also life as an expat. So if you have those questions, stay tuned for that. Now, Miss Andrea, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm good.
Tell everybody what time it is by you.
11:44 p.m. Oh, my
11.
Valentine's almost finished.
Almost like you had a nice evening out tonight.
Yeah. I went to a birthday celebration, celebrating love and a birthday.
Now, folks, if you feel like you've seen the face or heard the voice before, she is somebody who is making the rounds online right now, and you might not have connected with the name, but there was a special moment that Miss Andrea Bernard had to share with us online, doing something really, as the audience is saying, un-Caribbean like in Cambodia. Andrea, what did you do in Cambodia that got the streets buzzing? What did you do?
I tried dog,
You, you tried what?
barbecue dog, barbecue dog.
Barbecue, like brownie.
Yes,
Like you barbecue brownie.
yes.
Oh,
And it
how
was
was
really
that?
good. It was really
Oh my!
good.
How did it taste? Like it
Like
like how
pork.
like how did it? It tastes like pork.
Yeah, because the part of it I had was the rib area. So it wasn't an unfamiliar taste. It wasn't an unfamiliar look. So I was like, interesting, interesting. I am pretty sure had I not seen the actual dog head for the confirmation that it's actually dog, I would have thought, oh, maybe it's just pork ribs on a regular day.
Wow. So listen, now you know, right? So this is her. This is the girl that's making the round. She barbecue brownie. She says brownie tastes amazing. So anytime you're brownie at home, get out the line. Tell brownie, hey, we have some Cambodian sauce that we could do something with. So
Yep.
Andrea, just to kind of kick things off, right? Tell us a bit about your background and where you started and what led you to explore life abroad.
Uh, so I started off in the police service. I joined when I was 19 and I spent 7 years there. And after that, I decided, well, it's time for change. I moved to Spain. From there, I got the opportunity to move to Cambodia, and I said, why not? And I made my move to Cambodia, and that's where I've been for the past, yeah, it's almost 2 years. So March would actually make it 2 years.
Wow, Cambodia. Many of us don't even think we hardly even think about life on this side of the world, let alone a place like Cambodia. So this is definitely uncharted territories for many of us. Now, You were in law enforcement for 7 years in Trinidad before transitioning to education. So, what inspired that career shift?
Wanting to travel, literally. That was the only thing for me. I
I think we just lost Andrea for a second. We're going to try to get Andrea back. Listen, we got to love technology, right? Right now, the station is all the way in TNT, but I'm here in Thailand and we're locked in, and Andrea's out in Cambodia. So I know she was out right now. So she kind of ran away from her engagement this evening to talk to us. So we just lost her. So we're gonna try to get her back. And yes, we have her coming back in now. Andrea, we lost you for a second. So you were telling us about, the shift, going from law enforcement into education.
yeah, I wanted to travel. That was the main gist of it. And I also saw that, okay, there would have been an opportunity for me to make some money, also be able to stay legally in a country as long as I wanted to. And I said, why not? Because strangely enough, like the need for language, well, English language teachers out there is like hot bread. It's one of the
Mhm.
fastest jobs you can have. It's also a quick turnover. And I think because they know most people, um, they do it more so as a part-time thing. So you would find a lot
Yeah,
of persons who would have done like gap year or who just want to travel through a particular continent. And it's like, okay, let me just make some money while I'm doing it. So usually contracts run for like a year. If you're able to
yeah,
sign a 2 year or more contract, it's because you're really lucky one, or it's because you really want to stay in that country. But usually they offer 1 year contracts because they know,
yeah.
yeah, after a year, on to the next.
And people keep it moving.
Yeah, they
Now,
keep it moving.
now, wanting to leave, like wanting to go and migrate to another country is not usually, the first thing that people think about, let alone migrating to the other side of the entire world, far away from everybody. So for you, what was that moment in your life where you realized that you wanted to migrate and go and live in another country, teaching in another country, and make those rounds? What was it for you?
In 2022, after like leaving the service, I said, you know what, let me find something to do. And one of the reasons as well, it's like after leaving the service, I didn't want to go back to the regular Monday to Friday. Also, not
Mhm.
wanting to work in a job that pays me less than the police was paying me. I had my own business, which was paying me a lot of money, but I still wanted something more. And I said, you know what, let me make a move. But to be honest, deep down, my plan was never to stay in Trinidad. And that's one of the reasons why I never really pursued tertiary education there, like going to UTT or UE or one of those universities. I did all of my studies abroad through blended learning.
Mhm.
So, yeah, being abroad was my end goal. I wasn't sure exactly where I would have wanted to be it,
Where?
but I know it just was somewhere far in the UK or Europe. That's where, yeah, that's where I had my eyes. The UK or
Yeah,
Europe. I had no plan or intention of going to Asia. I mean, I didn't even know
yeah,
much about Asia. I just knew the typical places, China,
yeah.
and I would have heard about Bali and Thailand. Cambodia, no. I knew nothing about Cambodia.
Wow. Well, I mean, you've lived in Spain and now Cambodia. So, how did each of those experiences, living in those two countries, how did that shape your personal growth? And then also, how did that shape your career growth?
Um, it taught me adulting, knowing that I had to get up and figure it out. on my
Hmm.
own, having to pay my own rent, my own utilities, make my own groceries. I didn't have mommy to run to. Um, just the cultural difference, the things that we would usually like take for granted home,
Hmm.
meeting new people, living in a country that experiences 4 seasons,
Yeah.
learning how to dress for those 4 seasons, getting sick because your body is trying to adapt to it. And again, you're literally alone because I shared space with about 7 other individuals who were also like students, or some of them were like doing their PhD and stuff like that. And nobody spoke English. I was the only English speaker there. They spoke
Wow.
Spanish and Italian. So
Hmm.
I was the only Black person living there. So I was just existing until I was like, yeah, this ain't working out for me. And I got my own
Hmm.
apartment. I moved from Madrid. I went to Segovia. Segovia was, I felt like I was living in a movie. It was like one of those small towns, and there's literally a castle right there. And when the bells chime from the Catholic church every day on the hour, you know, yeah, it's time to get up and keep it moving. Everybody's just busy walking through the streets. And then moving to Cambodia, it was a whole culture shock. When my friend told me she's coming to pick me up, I was expecting an Uber. When
Yeah.
she met me at the airport, she pulled up with a tuk tuk, but it's a Morocco. It's something that is a bit bigger than a tuk tuk. Same idea.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is where we're going. And she said, yes. I said, but won't the luggage fall out because don't have like doors, and if the rain is falling, yeah. So I was like, but these people like steal our stuff. Like, what is happening? Total
Yeah.
culture shock. Culture shock. Like even in the plane, I'm looking down, and I came when the air quality was poor. I'm like, what? Where is this? Like, what is this place? Like, where am I going? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Everything was so crazy. When I look at the markets and the things that they would eat and their way of living, I was so shocked. Like I had to call my mom and I was like, Mommy, like look tuk-tuks, because we would see these videos and making fun of them, the tuk-tuks falling over and people falling out, and it's a whole kiki moment.
Yeah.
But then I'm in a tuk-tuk now hoping that yeah, this thing better don't turn over because that will be the embarrassment of my life.
Wow. Now you had another piece of content that's really making the rounds right now. A lot of conversation getting shared. And it's a video where you shared a very personal moment about the struggles of life abroad sometimes that we often don't think about, right? You pointed out that when we do look at life abroad, we do see all the glamour. I mean, you're in Cambodia. I don't know what the big thing is there in Cambodia, but I'd be stunting on everybody in my posts. I'm in the the rooftop condo. We're all over the place in Thailand or whatever, right? So people see all the glitz and the glam, but they don't often think about some of the downsides of life abroad, especially living so far away from home, right? Talk to us a bit about that and one of the big struggles that you have with life abroad.
um Life abroad is all fun and games until you have those moments where you just miss home. Like regardless of how bad the crime situation is or how bad your country is, whatever is happening, like there's no place like home. Like take for example the Venezuelans that would come to Trinidad. Any moment they get to go back to Venezuela,
They're
they would
gone.
go,
Hmm.
regardless of how bad it is, they would go. So I have these moments at times where it's like, okay, yes, I enjoy my own company. I enjoy being away from family. It's not that I miss them because we communicate all the time. Like it doesn't even feel like there's such a time difference.
Yeah.
But these moments where it's like, it's just so sad. Even so, in that moment, I lost a family member. One of my aunts, she passed due to cancer. And
Hmm.
even it's like, even though, yes, we would have known she had cancer, she was, basically at peace, and we know at any time now to expect. It's just something that when it happens, it's still like a reality check. And what bothers me being out here is the fact that I'm so far. It's not like I'm in New York, or I just catch a flight and I go home, or I'm in
Hmm.
Tobago, I'm in the Caribbean. Like I am 11 hours ahead of them. It takes me 3 days to get to Trinidad. So I usually have to look on at like important family events or like the funeral. I have to look at those things online. When my brother got married year before last year, I was in Singapore and 3 a.m. in the morning, I am on a WhatsApp video call giving a speech in a wedding.
Wow.
Yeah, giving a speech in a wedding. I wasn't there physically for it. It's not that I didn't want to be, but I had to make a tough decision. And I had to decide, okay, is it worth going home for this moment when I am looking at the bigger picture, like what is going to happen next? So it's a challenge. And then even the simple things. When I go home and I'm able to look outside and I see the mountains, I see the trees, it's like, oh wow, I haven't seen these things in like such a long time because I live in like the concrete jungle of Cambodia. If I need to see the mountains or a beach, I have to travel 3 to 6 hours. And that's one of the reasons why I love Chiang Mai so much because Chiang Mai in Thailand, it reminds me of home. Anywhere you
Hmm.
turn, there's so much greenery, mountains, bushes, trees. They drive on the same side of the road like us, the same type of vehicles you would see. And Cambodia is just so different. But it's in a good way. But still, just have those moments where it's like, I could do it being home today. Not for the week,
Hmm.
but just I could just do it being home today. That's all. But yeah, it happens. And a lot of persons, it's amazing to see how many individuals reached out to me. Like I had no idea that video would have gone viral like that in such a short notice, but the amount of
Hmm.
individuals that reached out to me and they started expressing this is what is happening right now. And I've seen where people were showing me videos of the snow. It's like, they're out in the cold. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, look at the snow we have to be shoveling, and I still have to go to work, and I'm tired of shoveling the snow. And I'm like, yeah, you're complaining about the snow, and I'm here fighting to catch my breath because the air quality is so bad
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Cambodia right now.
Yeah.
So it's just a struggle. Like we complain here and there for the Sahara dust, but having to face months of poor air quality is crazy.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree. I agree 100%. I think the biggest thing that you said was that home will always be home. And as much as I myself didn't grow up in Trinidad, um, I was born, and we would always come back like every year. Like we never really went a year, no more than 2 years without coming back. Right, my whole life. And if it's one thing I always told my mom was that I always felt like whenever we landed in Trinidad, I always felt like this is home. And I felt for 28 years, I was just visiting Toronto. So I lived 28 years in Toronto and I always felt like we were just visiting. And at some point, I would go back. So even just being able to be in this position where we are here, you're in Cambodia, I'm in Thailand, and we're speaking to a Trinbagonian audience back, like we do this because we want people to see the opportunities. We want to show people Trini's doing it across the world in everyday jobs and new jobs that people didn't even think was possible for them to get. And I feel like the biggest problem that we have in Trinidad and Tobago is just a lack of perspective. I feel like if more people got out, spent a year outside of Trinidad in some country that's not the US, the Canadas, or just staying in England, like I feel like if they did a year in countries around the world, and you can come back with some real world uh, business or career experience, but also just some new cultural experience and some new perspectives, I think it would go a long way with moving the country in the right direction. That being said, we wanted to talk more about teaching opportunities abroad. So, as I said to the audience earlier, I get asked this a lot, but I am not teaching abroad. I have my own business. I speak about those things. But for getting into teaching opportunities abroad, that usually is the number one way for people to that's usually the number one way for people to move abroad and get employment. Most important, teaching abroad is the number one way to move abroad and get employment. All right. So let's dive into that. So Andrea, how did you first break into teaching abroad?
So while I was in Trinidad, I did the TEFL course, TEFL. I was actually introduced to that by one of my friends who went to, he was a police officer as well, and he decided to go to CLL, that's the language center in UE. And through that, he did a student exchange in France. And that one little 6 month period he went to France, he came back and he resigned from the police service. He said, "Yeah, I'm moving to France." I'm like, "What?" So
What?
I know, right? He's like, "Yeah, I'm moving to France." And he told me about doing that TEFL course. And I just kept delaying. And then one day I said, "You know what? Let me do this thing." And I did it. And I started applying to schools. So my plan was to go to France. Again, lack of research, and I just went based on the information that he told me. I said, okay, he went to France, so let me decide I'm going to France too. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, when I reached out to that company, and I think I can't remember right now exactly who it was, but
Yeah.
it's in Trinidad, and they said that the next intake for that exchange would have been like January of 2023. But I said no, I want to get out of Trinidad by September 2022. So I started doing the TEFL course in March. I completed it. It's a self-paced course.
Hmm.
Go at your own pace, finish as fast as you can or at your
Yeah.
convenience.
And it's
And
all
from
online.
yeah, it's all online. It's a basic English course. It's like basic grammar. They may ask you a couple like classroom things. How would you deal with classroom situations? Which I think is just like common sense.
Yeah.
And it's nothing too far-fetched or too difficult. It makes you realize how difficult the English language is, but it's nothing to, stress about. And upon completion, I got my certification. Um, they also allowed me to do a teacher's training knowledge course through the Cambridge University.
Hmm.
And that was like an additional thing, which I got free. And from there, I applied to a school in Spain called Canterbury English. So when I applied to them, I applied to learn Spanish. So the plan is to go to Spain to learn Spanish. But once you're there on a student visa, which I got in Trinidad, I got the 6 month student visa, and I was able to do a 30-hour internship a week. So that's when I started doing the teaching. I started off with a private company, which would prepare students for the Cambridge exams. And from there, I started working at what is known as their Ministry of Health. And I worked
Hmm.
with professionals who worked directly with the UN. So what they did for their staff is that they made it mandatory that their staff have at least 1 hour of English every week. So they have the option to split that 1 hour into two 30-minute sessions. And I worked there Monday to Thursday, like 8 to 4. And then from 5 to 8, I would go to the private school to teach the students, preparing them for the Cambridge exams. And working at that ministry was a life-changing experience. I actually see how it prepared me for the role that I have now as a multilingual learner specialist. So basically, what I did, I just reinforced these professionals' level of English, because working with the UN, everything that they did, not the UN, sorry, the EU, everything that they did, they had to do it in English.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that. And then from there, because the winter was just kicking my soul, I decided that, okay, the plan was to go back to Trinidad for a bit because I was still pursuing my bachelor's of law. So I said, okay, I'm in my final year, let me just go back home, finish that, and then make a move somewhere. And that's when I got the opportunity to move to Cambodia. So
Okay.
I applied to the school in Cambodia. They interviewed me and everything online. I did that interview in February. And then they said, like, how fast do you think you can get here? I said, well, I'd have to go to France to get the visa. And that's how I visited Paris. So I went to France, get the visa, and then I made my way to Cambodia. And I got to Cambodia, I think it was like the 7th of March,
Hmm.
2023. And then the 13th, I started working. So I was a nursery homeroom teacher at an international school. I had to teach like, that would have been like 20 or 24 students. I also had two teaching assistants, which we would call OJT back home.
Yeah.
So they would assist me with that. And boy, oh boy, that tested my patience. It made me wonder if I was that troublesome while I was that age. It was also such a culture shock for me. So even simple things like, we may um, touch us as students here, we might, pat a child on their head or rub it, like that's a disrespectful thing here.
Yeah.
Even when, you might sit on the desk and have a conversation with the child, that's something disrespectful here. So it took a lot of adjusting. That school actually gave me or assisted me with my documents. They assisted with the work permit, and which is something that you renew yearly. So the school renews that. Some schools may tell you that you have to do it on your own, but that's when you know if you're in a good school or a waste of time school.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you have to be smart. So that first school for me, it wasn't my ideal thing, but I saw it as okay, this is what gets me through the door. This school also would be my ticket to getting whatever documentation I need because they were assisting
Yeah.
with that. And then I don't have much knowledge or information about Cambodia. I don't even speak anything close to their language. So that school assisted with everything. And after 3 months at that school, I moved on to another school. And I just kept, applying. It also made me develop patience for dealing with different students, differently able students. So I've dealt with students who were on the spectrum, some of them who were like fully there, which was challenging. And I just had to figure it out. And I think like eventually you start to like it. You start because you build that bond with these children, like these toddlers.
Yeah.
They see you and they run to you and it's like, sure, and it's teacher. And then you become their safe space because most of them, they come from a household where the parent is so busy and they don't have time. So they only see mommy, or sometimes they don't even see mommy and daddy until probably after the weekend because they're home with a nanny and the parents live out of the province. So you become teacher, mommy, auntie, best friend, everything in one. They ask
Yeah.
crazy questions, but I looked at it as culture shock because I've had students ask me, teacher, when they don't say teacher, they say ch. I don't know why they shorten the word, but they say ch. Um, you came to Cambodia by ship. And I said, what do you mean, a slave ship?
Uh,
Yeah. So after spending a couple months there, sometimes you even see these students out and about after and they remember you. What I realize is that they respect teachers so much here. It doesn't matter the age. I remember I did extra classes to adults. I gave extra classes to adults at the second school I worked at. And there was this one night I went out and I saw one of my students, and she is much older than I am. And she was dancing bachata and having a time. And I just sat there and I'm looking on and I'm like, I'm in awe because I can't dance to save my life. Definitely can't do that
mhm.
bachata. And when she saw me, the state of shock that she was in, she stopped dancing. She like bowed at me. She said, hi, teacher. And she left. When I saw her on Monday, She literally gave the walk of shame in the classroom because
Wow.
it's like, oh my God, teacher is seeing me, enjoying myself, and that's apparently not, a respectable thing. So she started saying something, and I'm like, girl, it's fine. Like you did your thing out there. It's not that
Wow.
serious. It's
Wow.
not that serious. I spent 3 months at that school, and I know for some listening, it may come across a bit unstable-ish, but I had a goal for myself, and I knew what I wanted. So the first job wasn't really paying much. My first job paid me 1,150 US a
Hmm.
month. Now it may sound like a little bit, but the cost of living in Cambodia is very, very, very low. Like with an $1,100 salary, you could
And this is
live
USD, right?
luxury.
We're talking 1100
Yeah,
US.
yeah,
Right.
they
Right.
pay in US. The hours of working is a bit longer. It's not like what we know in Trinidad. You start school at what 8:20, and you finish by 2:30. Uh-uh. These babies get to school at 7:15. So you start teaching at 7:30 and they're there until 4. Yes, they have nap time, which is like an hour, and then they have an hour lunch. But yeah, it's a full day, Monday to Friday. Some of them, they even go to school on Saturdays. Their school year, it's not like us. Like they work really, 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 really hard. Sometimes I feel sorry for them. But again, culture. And moving into the role that I have now as a multilingual learner specialist, it was something that I didn't even know exist.
Hmm.
And I was trained for that role. I was also given the opportunity to do a couple, I was sent to do the courses. And yeah, and this is why I say confidence takes you to places where a degree and all the certifications and educational background may not even take you.
Mm.
Because I went into that interview and I winged it. I literally, it was me and God, and I got the call back, and I started the job, and they trained me for that role, and it's already 2 years that I'm in that role. I'm trying to make a move, but they're trying to convince me to stay another year. And yeah, it also made me see how broad the field of education is. So when you tell persons, okay, come out here and be an English speaker, English teacher, they see it as, okay, you just go into a classroom and you teach A for apple, B for bat, C for cat. But in education, there's so many different things you can apply. You can go into the sport department, or if you even want to go into IT or even marketing, or like there's so many different things that you
Right.
can do. You don't have to be in a classroom dealing with students every day, because the reality is it's not for everybody. It's not.
Right. 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 So let's bring it back, right? Now, at a bare minimum to start teaching, if you wanted to move abroad and you wanted to teach, what qualifications do you need?
Be a native English speaker, one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And two, you do the TEFL course, TEFL. You can do that anywhere. You can do it with any country. The truth of the fact is that these agencies or schools, they just want to know that you have the certification for protocol purposes. They don't care if you paid $1,000 for the course or you paid 50 cents for it. Um, Doing research, you may also come across schools that allow you to do like a internship or a training. So I know there's Destination TEFL, where you can go, for example, you go to Vietnam, you do probably like a 6 month course, and they also have like
Yeah.
a classroom training. And from there, they may assist you with applying for jobs. But it's not necessary. You don't have to go that expensive route, because Destination TEFL, you have to fund everything yourself,
Right.
everything. So you can simply stay in Trinidad or wherever you are, wherever is convenient for you, and you do the
Yeah.
course. And from there, you make the move, you start applying to schools, it's always easier to be in the country already to,
That was going to be my next question. If it was
yeah,
easier, whether you should be applying online whilst in Trinidad, or whether it's a lot easier for you to move and then start
it's
to apply for jobs.
it's easier, but hey, go for luck ain't see for luck. Some people may apply while in Trinidad online and they get a school that is willing to sponsor them because there are some schools that will sponsor you. They will say, okay, we're giving you this allowance, we're giving you this, we're giving you that. And the thing about it, a lot of these schools take into consideration family. So they often ask,
Mm,
okay, do you have like who are your dependents? And good international schools, they would also offer you the opportunity to get what 50% off tuition, or you may even allow like free tuition for at least two children or so. Some provide
wow.
housing, yeah, some provide housing, um, health
I know some
insurance,
provide housing allowance.
really good.
Insurances are really good. Yeah.
Yeah, insurance is really good. And what some of these schools also do, because they try to limit the constant recruiting, they
Yeah.
also ask you like, okay, do you have a partner who's interested in teaching? So we have an opening in
Mm,
this department. Do you have a friend, or does your partner want to come teaching?
yeah.
Because I mean, when you have a husband and wife teaching in your school, chances are they ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so in my school, it's a lot of couples. And when you ask, okay, how long have you been teaching here? 8 years, 10
Oh
years. And
wow.
I have colleagues from over 54 different countries across the world, all continents.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So it's like
That's
real
listen.
international.
It's a real international school. So, what are some of the salaries that people could expect as a teacher abroad from when you're, just starting out to when you've kind of been in the game for a little while? And again, all prices we're talking are in US dollars.
Um, it can start, so more so speaking for Asia, um, let's say Cambodia, it can start
Mhm.
as low as 800 US a month. Again, to some, oh my God, that's no money, but it's based on your experience. So a lot of these schools, they would want to know that you at least have some sort of experience teaching. And then this is where I would say your judgment or common sense would have to prevail, because
Mhm.
there are schools that you can't just go into and say, okay, I'm submitting my resume or whatever for a teaching job. There are schools that you have to go through a entire process on websites like Shroll, where you need to have at least three references from a teaching background to
Mm.
even go active for schools to see you, or for you to be able to send applications
Can you
to that
can you
school.
spell that website out?
Schrole.
SCHOROLE.
No,
Yeah.
Schrole. So
Okay.
some say
Stroll.
scroll, some say stroll. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. So no, I just wanted you to spell it out so they know what to type in when they're doing their research. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you have that website, and there's also
John.
TEFL.com. Huh?
Go ahead. No, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
TEFL.com.
there's TEFL.com, but TEFL.com can be very overwhelming because they send hundreds, thousands of emails on jobs every day. But with shows, it's a bit more detailed. Like those schools, they tell you immediately what they're looking for, who they're looking for. So there are some countries, and I guess it's lack of knowledge. Um, they would have openings for English teachers, but they would only make it available for persons from Australia, South Africa, or America.
Mm.
Because for some reason, I guess those are the countries that they perceive to have, better English, or to be native speakers. Because they often ask me when I say, well, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, they look at me and they say, but your native
Yeah.
language is Spanish? I'm like, no, it's not. It's English.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But
Do you recommend using a jarn as well?
I've heard of it, but I've never tried it.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah,
A jarn is
I've
another
never tried it.
a jarn is another popular one that you guys can check out. It's AJAARN, a jarn. Check
Mm.
it out. I know a couple of people who have used it and gotten jobs in Asia as well for teaching. So I know the platform actually works as well. We only have a couple of minutes left because we are running a little bit short on time because of the Prime Minister address, right? So we're trying to get some of the most important questions out the way for teaching abroad. Again, many of you have had questions. We have a lot of them, so maybe in a couple of weeks we'll bring Andrea back on and we'll kind of finish off the conversation. So. Andrea, one of the questions that has been asked pretty frequently is the visa situation. Who is responsible for the visas? Should who's responsible for the visas?
So again, that it depends on the school. So there are some schools that will do everything for you. All you have to do is apply, they interview you, and then they will send all the documentation that you will need to produce to the embassy. If you're coming to Cambodia and you want to just hit the ground running and start doing things on your own, which works as well, we get visa on arrival. So there are the options for business visa, tourist visa, or an ordinary visa. Now, if you're coming into Cambodia and your intention is to stay or to get a job, I would say when you're filling out that form, say that you're applying for an ordinary visa. That way, you can then convert that ordinary visa into a business visa, even if you're doing it on your own, where you find an agent after, because Cambodian visas is a one entry, so today one
Yeah.
entry. Yes, you can apply for multiple entry, but you need the conversion to be able to work. They give you a business visa. We don't get like a residency card or residency permits. So every year or every 2 years or every 6 months or whatever,
Renewing a
you get
visa.
that new, yeah, you get that new visa. Um, some schools will do that for you, but again, you have to be in the country already. And
Right.
then you'll just submit whatever documentation to the school, and they will carry it into immigration, and you get back your visa, get back your passport with your visa in probably like a week or two. They also provide like the work permits, and the work permit is something that they would keep at the school. Some of them may give you like a copy of it just in case. Depends on what country you're from. If like for traveling purposes, they may give you a bit of static when coming through immigration. Um, um, but they do everything for you. But then again,
Okay,
it's the
that's
it's the
yeah,
difference between a good, like a proper international school, because a lot of schools here call themselves international schools. So
yeah,
a high end international school is a school that will pay you in the thousands. So you can get
yeah.
from like, let's say, $1,600 straight up to maybe 3,000 US or more, right?
And that's
And
a lot of money, especially living out here. Like if
come
you're getting
on,
three
yeah,
thousand US and living in Cambodia, Thailand, or any of
yeah.
these countries, my good, you're living good.
Yeah, like that's how I'm able to travel, because my rent is 350 US a month, and I live in
I
a
need you
condo
to
now. A
say that.
condo is like
I
a
need you to hold on, Andrea. I need you to say that again because when people watch my stuff, people are like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" Tell them again how much you're paying and what you're getting.
Yeah, my rent is $350 US a month. I live in a condo where I have 24-hour security. I have a pool, I have a gym, co-working space. There's like a running track on the 26th floor of where I live. And my utility bills don't even reach to $50 a month. Like my light bill is like $12. My water bill is usually between $1.50 to maybe like $3.
Wow.
So, and food is very cheap, very, very cheap.
What did you say you did with $20 the other day?
What I did with $20? What did I do?
They had a video where you went and spent $20 and
Oh,
you went
and I
grocery shopping,
oh
which
yeah,
is
I ordered
crazy. Nobody
I order
says
the
I have
groceries.
$20. Nobody says I have $20. Let me go and make groceries. So the fact that you can do that with $20 is insane. What did you do with your
Yeah.
$20?
Yeah, I ordered the groceries online actually. And I purchase the same things over and over. So what I bought was like sweet potato, the regular onion and stuff, chicken breast, because that's like all I eat, milk,
Gee.
cereal, um, cheese, fruits, because I make sure I get fruits every week for work. And my fruits would be like banana, dragon fruit, which they charge you $1 million plus VAT for in Trinidad. I pay $1.30 for two big dragon fruits.
Wow. Wow.
Like every time I show my mom, she gets so mad. She's like, yeah, yeah. And we're paying so much money for a dragon fruit, yeah, and we're not even sure if it's gonna be good or not.
Right now, Davy's taking notes like I could actually afford my wife in Cambodia. I might have to make a move.
Yeah, like being out here, it gives you a taste of luxury. Things that people will be dreaming of, or the persons that you'd be looking at the western side of Trinidad, and it's like, oh my gosh, I would love to live in one with the place, or live further down. But here, like you're able to live in luxury for next to nothing, as we will say it. And mind you,
Mhm.
that's lifestyle is considered expensive for a native Cambodian.
Correct.
Because obviously they pay their foreigners more than they pay their natives. That's unfortunate, but it's just like that's just how it is. So yeah, and like living in a condo is a very normal thing here because you see so much of them that you have options. Like if you feel like moving from this condo this year to our next one, it's the easiest thing you can do. And you can also own a condo as a foreigner here. So I would say if your
Mm,
intention is to move abroad long term, or even it gives you the opportunity to have somewhere outside of Trinidad. You can do the
right.
rent to own. So instead of you paying a monthly rent and you see it as dead money, that's gonna be yours in the next what, 5, 10 years, however long you choose to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and again, and it makes some very salient points because rent to own and having another place outside of Trinidad, why not? You're seeing a whole
Yeah.
different culture, a new country, new opportunities, and again, new perspectives. And these are the perspectives that you can come and bring back and help to improve the lifestyle in Trinidad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Andrea, now with respects to making the move abroad, because one of the things that you had said was it is easier to land a job when you already here, right? Some people might be thinking to themselves, well, that's a big step jumping into something where you have no employment right now. How do you go about kind of financially preparing yourself to make a move to a country like a Cambodia? How much money should you kind of have? Um, and how do you kind of plan it out whilst you're kind of waiting to land a job?
I would say, apart from your ticket money, which it's always the hardest part and the most challenging part because it's not $2 to come out here, it's a lot. I would say if you have at least $1,000, and $1,000 is going to take you along with $1,000 is going to give you like at least what, 3 months rent just for security. And I could bet you before that 3 months you will get a job, even if you get that job just to cover the next 3 months, and then you feel like you're going to move on. Trust me, you will find a job. You will find a job. Like the amount of people that you see here, or like teaching, even something simple as word of mouth. You might happen to go to a coffee shop and you meet someone and you start having a conversation, and then they're like, oh, my school is recruiting. Okay, cool. Send me the telegram. It's that simple. Some schools you can literally just send them a message on Telegram. Hi, I'm X, Y, and Z. I'm from here. Upload your CV, and then before you know it, they would ask you, did you get a job already? Because it's so quick. Did you get a job already? Okay, we want to interview you. And
Wow.
that's as far as it goes. And I would say teaching has become so much easier now because of AI. If you don't know how
Right.
to do a lesson plan or what is a lesson plan, AI will create that lesson plan for you. If you're not sure how to even start teaching or what to say, AI will do it for you. Because these students are learning English. So it's basic things. It's nothing where you have to, oh my God, I need to sit down and figure this out and how am I going to do it? And yeah, it's really simple. Really simple. And again, there's
Because I
so many
think,
different options in the field of education.
yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest just mental blocks that people have when they're thinking about teaching abroad is that they're thinking they need to be they're thinking about their own past. Oh my God, I was terrible in English growing up. I got a D. I failed English. How can I go about now being able to teach people abroad? So I know that's been a big barrier for just people's thought process and applying. So thank you for breaking that down. You know.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to some of the common mistakes that people make when they decide to move abroad with teaching in mind, what are some of the common mistakes that you see?
Um, Coming with the mentality of or the norms or the customs that we are used to back home. So our level of discipline in Trinidad is top tier, regardless of what. Our level of discipline is top tier. And what you will learn
Yeah.
quickly is that you can't be like that here again because culture. So, for example, things like if you're not excelling in the academic area, there's no reason you should be on the football team or on the basketball team. Study your
Mm.
book first, work,
Mm.
then play, right? Or if you're not excelling in first year, you feel you're going to second year? No. Your parent could come and cry wolf and be vexed with the principal? No. But here, once you're paying, because education is not really free, so anybody
Yeah.
that is actually going to school, you know that they are paying for that. So, and again, it's business. So you have to send that child up. They would even warn you before a parent teacher conference, like, don't say anything bad about these students, even if you have this opinion, please don't.
Yeah.
And you have to just sit there and humble yourself. The use of obscene language is like an everyday thing, and it's so amazing how fast they pick up these words, but then they're shortening teacher and they're calling you ch.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, so culture, culture, and the way they will discipline students, that is one thing you have to leave it in Piaku when you board the flight. Just leave it. Because you will be stressed and you will be upset every day. But it gets better with time. It gets better with time. And just come with an open mind. Come with an open mind because if you have too much expectations, you'll be disappointed and you'd want to go back home because yes, everybody wants to move abroad, but moving abroad is not for the weak, especially coming into a country where they don't really speak your language. They will look at you different. They will be mad at you for being in their country and not being able to speak their language, and you will be mad at them like, why can't you speak English? Yeah, it will be frustrating,
I have two
but
questions left before we wrap up, right? One of
mhm.
them being another very popular question. I'm sure you get this all the time. I get it, and I know it's one of the most searched questions for life abroad. What is it like living in Asia as not just a person of color, but a woman of color?
Um, you get a lot of unwanted attention a lot of times. I say I don't have it as hard because as much as I'm a black person, my skin complexion is not black, black, say,
Hmm.
colorism at its finest. So I see people who would have black complexion, they would get treated differently than I get treated. When they see your hair, you get stares. Some of them may want to touch your hair, they may want to touch you. I was even asked, like if I tan, why is my complexion like that? They ask about my hair, how I wash my hair, how often I wash it, if my hair is heavy. And sex tourism is very high. And well, Asia is a place for that. Sex trafficking is something that exists, but as someone asked me recently about that, and I said, well, if you know what you're about, chances of you falling into that boat is very, 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 very slim. Very slim.
Mm,
Because they don't like nobody really pays you any mind. You can walk the road any hour of the night and nobody really cares. Everybody is
mhm.
about their own business. Even simple things like greetings. It's only in the Caribbean we take that serious and you'd be vexed if someone you don't say good morning back to you. You know?
Right.
It's not that serious out here. But it's all curiosity as a black person because they don't see much people like you. So that's why the first thing that would come to mind for them is like, oh, she's from Africa. She's an African person. And you will try to explain to them from sun up to sundown, no, you're from the Caribbean, where the Caribbean is. And they will be like, oh, okay, nice, nice. Africa, Africa. And like, okay, yeah, Africa it is. Africa it is. Even traveling through the airports, you will think, okay, this person is an immigration officer. They're supposed to know whether you're able to enter a country visa free or not. You have to be confident and know your things that, yes, this is visa free. This is visa on arrival. No, we don't need this. Yes, we need that because they will just put you into that African boat and be like, well, yeah, we can't allow you to enter the country. Or they would look at your passport strange because I've never seen a Trinidad and Tobago passport before.
So the fact that you were a police officer for, I believe it was almost 10 years in Trinidad and Tobago,
Happened.
right? 7 years. Okay, sorry. I don't want to age you up. You were in the service for 7 years, right? And you're doing that in Trinidad. Give people an idea about how you feel as a woman in terms of your personal safety when you are walking around Cambodia, when you're walking around Thailand as a woman in comparison to how you would approach life as a woman in Trinidad. I get asked, that's one of the questions I get asked all the time as well. Just how do how do you move differently? Because I think a lot of people too, um, if you haven't lived in a country where it's lower crime or at least lower physical crime, your approach to just everyday life is just so different than when you're living in places that are a bit safer. How would you kind of break that down?
I will say that I feel safe. So like right now it's almost 1 a.m. I am out and I am about to book a tuk-tuk and travel like 30 minutes to my home. I'm not worried. I'm not scared. I'm not saying that you're going to be out here just living vicariously and not being aware of your surroundings. You need to be aware of your surroundings at all times, regardless of where you are, man, woman, child. But it's safe. It's really, really safe. And yes, the crimes that they have here, it's like petty crime. They might try to snatch your phone or they might try to snatch your purse, but all you have to do is scream to the top of your lungs. And I'm saying this based on experience. I almost
Yeah.
got robbed the first week when I came here. I was in a tuk-tuk and they tried snatching my phone. And yeah, but safety, I think they would also assume, especially in Thailand, they would easily assume that you're a sex worker as a woman walking the road. They will assume that and they may ask questions or they may just approach you and be like, how much? Again, I've experienced it already. And they'll ask you how much, and it's only after you realize, oh, that's what they were asking me. But it's not where you have to be worried, like, oh my gosh, I can't walk here. I'm not going to do this or I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get snatched. And again, if you I believe that when you have that mindset or you walk around with that fear, that's when things happen to you.
Mm.
That's when things happen because people could sense that, yeah, this person is scared, this person is intimidated. But you have
Yeah,
to act like a local. Like sometimes every time I come out of the airport in Cambodia and these taxi
yeah.
drivers are trying to up their prices, thinking I'm a tourist, I'm like, oh, I live here. I live
Right.
here. You can't charge me $5 for a $2 ride. I live here. I know the apps. And they're like, okay, sister. I'm like, yes. Yeah. Act like a
Wow.
local. Learn to adapt. When you're
Wow.
in Rome, you do like the Romans.
When in Rome, you must do like the Romans. So,
Yep.
Andrea, now you've not only built your life abroad for yourself, but you've also created a community with Going Boldly Abroad, inspiring and guiding others who are looking to take that leap, right? What is your biggest
Yeah.
piece of advice for someone who's thinking about moving abroad, but feels unsure or hesitant? And how can they tap into your community for support and guidance?
They can always reach out to me on Instagram. My IG is I am Andrea Bernard or Boldly Beyond Borders. And I will say, just start doing your research. Yes, it will be scary. Yes, you will question yourself. Even on that flight, you'll be like, is this the right move? The first couple of days, reality will start hitting you, like
Yeah.
hitting you for six that, okay, this is not a vacation. I live here now. I need to figure out how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to do that, what works for me. Um, you just have to wing it and go with God. Wing it and go with God. And you'd be surprised like how many doors would open. And I tell everyone, teaching should be, if it's not your thing and you're not passionate about it, just see it as a stepping stone. Okay, this is what is going to allow me to enter this country and live here as long as I want legally. And while you're there, you can go back to school, go and you could just network, and then you may end up in a new position that you never even thought about or something that you never even knew of. And then before you know it, that's where you are, and you're going up the ladders, you're going up the ladders, and because you're what? The principal of a school, or it's just so many different things, so many different things. Like I know this other Trini guy, he's not passionate about teaching, but his end goal is to become a pilot. Teaching is what
Mhm.
is giving him the money. I'm studying law. I'm doing my master's in law. So, and the end goal for me is to work in the UN. But being out here, it gives me that opportunity. It allows me to look at life from a different perspective, especially like when it comes to humanitarian stuff.
Yeah.
Because Cambodia is not a very rich country. Like there's so much things happening. Poverty is at an all-time high. The HIV rate is very high. But hey, you just see things differently and you appreciate the little that you have. And you just live life and take it one day at a time.
Wow. Wow. Listen, Andrea, I know it's late, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you have to get home and get home safely in your tuk tuk. Thank you for stepping away from your event and taking some time and talking to us here on the digital world. Andrea, always a pleasure connecting with you. And folks, if you want to go and learn more about Andrea and her community, Andrea, give us your IG handle one more time.
I am Andrea Bernard.
Thank you
Simple.
very much, Andrea. And we'll keep in contact. And like I said, I'm sure we'll bring you back in a couple of weeks to further the discussion on teaching abroad. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Now, Andrea, one of the things that Andrea had said that I want you guys to really take hold of is when she said wing it, right? I know you might feel a little bit, scared, but you don't have to have it all figured out when you are making that move, right? And the fact that you can come there with 1,000 US dollars and get 3 months rent out of just $1,000, that gives you more leeway to kind of figure things out when you make that move. But you definitely want to come there, buy your ticket, save up a little thousand, 1,500, save up as much as you can, but at least a minimum of $1,000. And when you're coming onto places like Cambodia, like Thailand, it's going to give you some room, and it's going to give you a buffer that you would have never have had if you were living in the West, because there's nothing you can get for 1,000 US in the States or in Canada or in the UK, right? But that's a lot of money out here, and it gives you a bit of that runway if you decide to make that move. All right, so go follow Andrea. We are going to go and take a break. We got to pay some bills. I got to sip some water. We'll be back with more Digital World after this.